the way of life. So we'll start by the analysis of the text. We'll present some symbols where photography has played a symbol in various aspects of life, and then we'll move on to the managerial domain, and after that we'll present our framework and analysis on the basis of the same. So rather than giving a very formal definition of photography, I would say what photography really means. Let's say for different people, photography is a way of feeling, a way of loving, a way of touching. It's a way of expressing, it's a way of shouting, it's a way of letting oneself free and expressing without any inhibitions of being judged or being original or even being creative. For some, it has the tendency or the aptitude of depicting things which are visible to everyone, but they neglect it as being too ordinary. So, say you are living in Kolkata, you would probably not go out taking photographs of fishermen who crowd around in the morning around lakes and ponds. But if you go out to other places, say Chilka Lake in Orissa or the backwaters of Kerala, you would do the same. You would take ample photographs of the thousands fishermen who storm there. I just mentioned these two examples because these are the places where I have been to and I have done exactly the same. Photography surrounds consumption. A very beautiful quote said, doing business without advertising is like winking at a girl in the dark. You know what you're doing, but nobody else does. So, photography in the consumption scenario, it informs, it attracts you, it shows you the gap that you have in your life, which the product would probably compensate, and then it forces you to buy it. If I'm referring to the same marketing jargon of IDA framework, if that suits you guys. The best thing about photography which we need to take into consideration is that all of this is done while being completely invisible. We take its presence for granted. It has so seamlessly been ingrained in our lives that we don't see it as a technology anymore. It's not the technology which replaced oil paintings a long time back. So all of this is done by being completely invisible. Coming to photography as a symbol of various aspects of life, the most important and the most obvious one is that it is a symbol of memories. So any occasion in your life, be it weddings, be it any family function, be it anything, you tend to record it, and a presence of photographer is a must for that occasion. An example which was given in the text was that there was a family gathering in America, and the guys called up a photographer to take a video of whole of the 2 hours that the family was together. So he recorded everything from the ladies cooking in the kitchen to men sharing pleasantries over dinner. The next time that they went about seeing that video, they realized that it was boring as hell. So it's just a method of keeping records. It's not the technology or the charm of it being something of an entertainment. It's just a symbol of keeping records and keeping memories. In fact, one of the quotes said, what you've caught on film is captured forever. It remembers every little thing, even if you've forgotten everything about it. The next symbol that we see is that photography is a proxy of seeing. So another example from the text that I'll be using is that people go to Louvre Museum in Paris just to catch a glimpse of the famous Mona Lisa painting by Leonardo da Vinci. Now, when they reach there, they first ask, even before they catch a glimpse of the famous painting is to capture it in their mobile phones or the cameras. So in a way it has substituted for their visual sense. And the last one, it has become a ritual for tourism. Photography is, I would say, parallel to tourism. You won't consider tourism without photography. I mean, when was the last time when you went out without taking a camera in your hand, or even without camera? Have you ever returned from a trip without taking a single photo or a video about it? I know you're nodding, but you haven't done it, I'm sure. So, one very beautiful line from the text again said that memory tours are expensive. You pay for memories. Photography lets you capture each and every memory and preserves it forever. The last thing which I wish to mention is that photography, okay, so I considered always that photography is the one that has created stereotypes. But then when I went deeper, I realized that it's not photography that has created stereotypes. Stereotypes have always been there. We have always had a mental picture of what an American would look like, what an African would look like, what an Indian would look like, what a Japanese would look like. But photography has in a way fostered it even more. And combining it with the ritual of tourism, you enhance this cycle even more. So when you go to those places, you in a way seek out for those images exactly, and those are the images that you would like to capture in your camera as well. Hence, photography as we see it is a way of life.
Okay, so moving forward, now we'll try to trace basically the uses of photography, and in particular symbolic photography, how photography is a symbol for something else, while the upper form is something else. So again, I'd just like to quote the last part of the whole quote. So photography is a major force in explaining man to man. So again, that will be the core crux of all the examples that will be taken. So first example is modeling photography. So apart from tourism and popular photography, modeling photography would come as one of the cornerstone industries which is based upon photography itself. The producers use this to basically show people what are the latest trends and what are the trends to be followed. But for the consumers, so again, so this will basically show an ideal image, what is the latest going on for probably a teen girl like her. So every teen girl who will be browsing through this photograph in one of the magazines or on net would try to be like her, would try to emulate her. So for her, it becomes a window to the outer world. And in the process, the producer are able to regulate the expectations of people in masses. So maybe this, even for the guys. So it's not just a phenomena which is more or less related to girls. Even increasingly, the fashion trends are being defined for guys, and guys are following them. So next up is food photography. So here I have a small video before.
Hey everybody, you ever notice that fast food looks way better in the ad than it does in reality? We're going to do a little experiment with a hidden camera to see if we can get them to make the food look exactly like it does in the pictures. Let's see how this goes. I'm just kidding, take that. Name is correct. It doesn't look quite as pretty. I'm looking at this picture of Big Mac, and it looks kind of sad and dry. And can you make one that looks like a picture? Okay, great. Thanks very much. Do you like that? Did you ever hear people ask for that before?
Never heard that before.
Okay, great. Thank you. Oh, look at that. See, that's a little better, isn't it?
Yeah, thank you very much for the feedback.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
So here's another example.
How you doing? We're going to go for a bacon cheeseburger deluxe. Alright. Okay, so this is the bacon cheeseburger deluxe. Let's see how this thing compares.
See the stark difference between the actual burger and the
Let's see if we can get them to match that. This looks kind of scrawny compared to this, especially for the bacon.
Yeah, it's about the picture there on the map compared to
Can you make this so that it looks like the picture for me?
Alright.
Let's see if they can actually make it look like the picture. This one's a little challenging. I'm excited. Here we go. looks like a burger to eat. I love it.
So food photography again, another medium to basically fool people around the nuances of photography, right? And one of the bad parts of this nuance is that at times a lot of techniques are used which not many know, but are the reason why the food appears to be scrumptious, delicate and delectable. So one of the techniques is that all the fruits, the fresh fruits, when they are clicked, to make them appear fresh, deodorant is sprayed on them. So that gives them the air of being fresh. And the moment we see such fresh fruits, we want to grab one of them, right? That would make us go to the nearest source when you want to have fruit, but that is seldom used. So again, the bad part of it is where we are lured into having fast food. In particular, fast food people do delectable photography. I remember a movie Chef. If any one of you has watched the movie Chef, the chef makes a cheese sandwich, and I particularly remember the way he makes it. He's making on the pan, he puts all the cheese and the bread and toast. It's just delectable and mouth-watering. So yeah, this is again an example of desserts, how desserts are beautifully photographed to exactly make your mouth water and try to grab one. Again, so increasingly some good use of photography is also being done. So if you see the workspaces of some offices, you will find such photographs on the walls. So that is in turn to regulate your diet towards more healthy, towards a greater share of fruits and vegetables. Again. So next example is used by e-commerce websites, and this example is quite different from the other examples in the sense that other examples photography is used to convey something else apart from the actual content. But this is probably one of the examples where as of now the e-commerce websites are using photographs of items to depict as they are. And again, there is a deeper content there, and the content that we understand is that they are trying to bridge the gap between the consumer and the actual brick and mortar store, because the e-commerce websites cannot allow you to have that feel and texture of the items that they are displaying online. So photography here becomes a medium of bridging the gap for them. The next is selfie. So I guess every one of us would have put at least one selfie of ours on either Facebook or MySpace or any other social platform. So it's the next revolution. So before going forward again, so that's the definition of selfie by Urban Dictionary. A picture taken by yourself that is planned to be uploaded to Facebook, MySpace or any other sort of social networking website. You can usually see the person's arm holding it out the camera, in which case you can clearly tell that this person does not have any friends to take pictures of them. So they resort to MySpace to find internet friends and post pictures of themselves, taken by themselves. A selfie is usually accompanied by a kissy face or the individual looking in a direction that is not towards the camera. So this is the extent to which the norms are being laid out even in this revolution. So we have a small video. So again, just to exemplify the limit of norms that are being set, it has become a science.
Do it. Take a selfie. Here? In the bathroom? Isn't that a little narcissistic? Selfies are empowering. They help young girls redefine the standards of beauty. Oh, that's nice. So stick out your tits and take a picture. I adore it. I'm just concerned that this is going to come across as like some pathetic plea for attention. Do you know what selfie stands for? Self-portrait. Guess who does self-portraits? Artists. Like Van Gogh and James Franco. Astronauts take selfies in outer space as they test the limits of mankind. One in the bathroom where they just took a shit. She made me second guess one selfie. It's fine. No first draft ever made it to Instagram. Just relax. You know, let your body just fall the way it naturally does. You can't post that. You will look like a raging narcissist. It's the internet. Everyone does. Just hashtag no makeup and text somebody to cancer. That's indulgences. Paying money to be relieved of guilt. No one's gonna buy that. Why do you give such a fuck what other people think? Actually, I don't give a fuck. That's why I don't post selfies. Well, I don't either. And that's why I do. I also don't give a fuck. Fine. Make a weird face, but caption it. Being silly. What is my life? Well, no. Cute, weird.
So it's just more of that sort of thing. Okay, so again, so here also in this video, a reference to narcissism being related to selfies is given, right? And we try searching for the scholarly works, and believe me, there is a lot of work that has been done and that is being done in this field to understand what selfie stands for, what is the extent to which it's related to narcissism. So again, it may be elders, may it be toddlers. So now with the toddlers having mobiles within 1 year or 2 years, selfies again become crazy with them, among them. And who knows, within 5 years down the line, they could have their blogs. The one with adventures, the successful ones and the unsuccessful ones which we haven't shown. So here when we come to the relation between how selfies are being used by businesses, so what our proposition is that there are actually as of now 2 uses of selfies. So one is the creation of new business opportunities, which is done in the form of song. So this is a song by the Chainsmokers band, a song devoted to selfie. I'm sure most of you might have heard of it, again. And another example is Kim Kardashian's book. So there is a news that Kim Kardashian is launching a book with the selfies. That probably due sometime later next year. So yeah, so that is the extent to which people are finding business in selfies. Another way that businesses and politicians are using selfie is to create a fan following for them, to legitimize what they are doing and to basically take more people along with them. Narendra Modi posting his picture after he voted, right? So that shows the credibility, and after he put on the Facebook, there would be millions of likes within a day, right? So that shows that people are following and people will try to emulate him. Another example is Obama's power selfie. So that's the biggest politician in the world taking a selfie together. And the one on the bottom right is a very famous selfie taken by Ellen DeGeneres at the Academy Awards. And this was used by Samsung. So Samsung was the sponsor for the event, and they gave the phone S5, the Note 3 to Ellen DeGeneres and asked them to take a selfie. So this is how again selfie is being used by corporate advertising strategy also. Other uses, again, so here is basically the use of photography increasing in general among the various aspects of our life. One is debit cards. So interestingly, ICICI Bank has started these impressions debit card where they are offering you to basically come with a photo and get it inscribed on a debit card. Seriously, I don't understand how many times would I actually be not using my debit card but showing it to people that this is my debit card and I have my photo on this. The only time that you actually take your debit card out is during a transaction at an ATM or a bank or a restaurant or an outlet where you're going. So, but again, they're trying to take pictures to wherever they can. Another example is newspapers. So if you see the newspapers of 10 years before and now, so you see that in general the use of photographs has increased. Other uses are greeting cards and magazines. Now Nisha will talk about our framework and how we can handle this form content.
Okay, so I'll actually first start off, I'm sorry for my voice. So I'll start off by explaining 2 terms which we will be using in our framework. First one is consumerism. So consumerism can be defined as a social or economic ideology that encourages the acquisition of goods and services in greater amounts. Right? So there are 2 forms of definition we can have. One is that consumerism was firstly seen in the political context where you're trying to increase activism among consumers, telling them how goods and products are produced so that they have all the information. But now it's gone to frivolity, where you're just buying things for the sake of it. So the economic and political context of consumerism come to that itself. So political is of course the activism. Economic is where you're promoting the free market, and in that you're saying that consumers should we should let consumers do whatever they want, and that is what the context over here comes. So how consumerism evolved is firstly there was this culture of consumption which was started in London long back, where you had lots of goods and products which were produced, and you had shops which came up. Slowly the shops became community places where people used to meet up, and soon that became a way of life. And then you come to mass production, which came with the advent of the Industrial Revolution, where you have products being produced in such huge amounts that you are promoting consumerism in one way. Of course, there are critics of consumerism who say that consumerism is it's frivolous, right? That is the example. That's the definition which has been given to consumerism. Affluenza is a mixture of affluence and influenza. It's what inflicts the consumers themselves. The second term which we will talk about in relation to our framework is the rhetoric. Rhetoric is one of the three methods which is used along with dialectic analysis and grammar. It was proposed by and popularized by Aristotle. It's an art that aims to improve the capability of writers and speakers to inform, persuade, to motivate audiences. So it has basically got 5 canons to it. How a person presents a rhetoric is invention, about how you design and make up your argument. Style, about how you're going to present those arguments. Arrangement is how you're arranging your arguments to give the maximum amount of effect. Delivery is usage of hand gestures, other examples and everything. And memory is, of course, the art of memorizing your arguments so that you're able to deliver them properly. So, through rhetoric, now whenever we think of rhetoric, we think of the rhetorical question which we use to emphasize certain parts. I mean, we don't really expect an answer, but it's used to drive home a point. But rhetoric can actually be used to analyze something in great depth. So we have strategies which we read about in a paper by University of Minnesota where you can use that to actually analyze problems. So you have arrangement, which is argument, that should be, I'm sorry about that. Argument is where you give an opinion about something. You just don't state a fact, you state your opinion about it and the rest of the time you spend on justifying what your opinion is. You have cause and effect. Cause and effect is a little bit of build-up like how we used to do in dialectic. So you say something is the effect of something and you start with the most basic cause and you keep leading up to it. You have classification where we are breaking down the main problem into many subparts. You have comparison, which is again like paradox where you keep comparing things and contrasting them to build up your point. Description is a mixture of everything actually. It's like a classification and you state your opinion over here. Extended definition is, so the remaining last, exemplification is of course where you provide an example. So you give an opinion and instead of explaining your opinion, you give an example to drive home the point and only towards the conclusion do you say what it was. So applying this to our context, now if we see, photography has been a symbol of everything like memories and of social gatherings and all. But now we've seen it's become such a ritual. You take a photograph without having a point behind it. So if you see, we can use consumerism as the cause of the whole thing. You have this need first which started with where you wanted to be in social gatherings and everything. You lead up to having like what? You have easy access to your products which were promoted by a part of consumerism. And then you have where you like buying products and promoting them because of that. So this is how we come about it and this is how we have analyzed it using rhetoric and consumerism to explain photography. So actually, now the last quote to end our whole thing with photography takes an instant out of time, altering life by holding it still. You're so busy capturing your memories, you're actually giving up real time. Thank you.